Hello and welcome today to another Pathfinder character build. Today I am building another character from Deltarune, another one of the Delta trio here, going with Susie. Susie is actually one of the easiest ones out of the three I've built thus far, as I've almost finished building Rousey entirely, which you'll be able to probably see the week after. So yeah, there's that. Now today Susie is very simple and easy to build as a barbarian, but keep in mind, the race is a little off, so DM approval is required. Today, Susie is a character we need to really become familiar with as two things: anger management and dinosaur. Only two things. So, instead of the complete race guide, the advanced race guide, we have access to an example race called the Lizardfolk. For those that are unfamiliar, it is actually a monster inside of the bestiary, which you can actually normally face. But instead of that, I gave it as an example race you can actually choose to use if the DM lets you. And with that, let's start off with our stat modifiers. As Lizardfolk, we actively get access to a +2 to Strength and a +2 to Constitution, which will be very helpful with this build, especially with Susie being a terrifying rage machine. In that order. Using the standard fantasy point buy system, we are actually having a strength of 14, dexterity of 12, constitution of 14, intelligence of 8, wisdom of 10, and charisma of 14. Susie is known to be very physically strong and have a lot of hit points, so in doing so, constitution and strength are both extremely high, and being a Lizardfolk helps this. When it comes to it, Susie does not wear much armor that we can actually visibly see, so dexterity being at 12, because at least then she'll be able to dodge most things. So her dexterity won't be too high, reflex save won't be too high, she normally can get by well enough, thanks to those hit points. Now her intelligence is 8, because the fact is, though she is moderately perceptive, not able to miss the very common things, she does have problems with figuring out traps. So intelligence of an 8. Wisdom being a 10 because, as I said, she's not unperceptive. She's not the most perceptive in the world, but she's not unperceptive. And a charisma of 14 because the fact is she is terrifying and will eat your face. As kind of evident inside of the entire first and moderately second chapter. With these modifiers, it makes her strength 16, dexterity 12, constitution 16, intelligence 8, wisdom 10, charisma 14. Now with our racial traits, from being a Lizardfolk, we get access to a 30-foot land speed, 30-foot swim speed, which is useful in a campaign, but though we don't see if she's a good swimmer or not, so kind of up in the air for that one. Also as Lizardfolk, we get access to a +1 natural armor, which will also help with our survivability a lot. And because we have a natural swim speed, a +8 racial bonus to swim. So, with that, we also get access to a bite attack of 1d3 and 2 claw attacks of 1d4. Now we don't see her use claws, though we don't also see her use a bite. We actually can see that she has great big chompers, and her threats of being able to bite somebody's face off is quite obvious to us. Now we do have 2 starting traits, as we have our first one being that of a basic combat trait called Bloody Minded. You get a +1 trait bonus on initiative and intimidate checks. This is very helpful because the fact is, first, she is a very intimidating adversary, and on many occasions, at least from my experiences from playing Deltarune, you can see as her attack gauge moves at least a little bit faster or starts a little bit before anyone else's. So she's actively very intimidating and very fast reacting. Now, the second trait we're picking up on as our standard second trait is actually a basic faith trait called Darks Before Dawn, which gives us a +2 trait bonus on all savings against spells with the emotion, fear, or pain descriptor. Once per day, you can increase this bonus to 4 on a single save, but you must make the decision before you attempt to save. This is also very helpful as being a barbarian, you're able to survive a lot of things, and being able to have bonuses just to common saving throws you have to make, spells especially being emotion based, which is heavy in this instance, as it doesn't seem that she gets intimidated, and she doesn't seem to feel too much pain either, with the rare exceptions to when you get to face Lancer's father. kind of evident that everybody kind of hurt on that one. So, with that, brings it over to Barbarian. We're going straight Barbarian, not Unchained, as everything we want kind of comes from here anyways. If you want to use Unchained for yourself, by all means. At first level, we pick up on Fast Movement. Fast Movement increases our total land speed by 10 to a total of 40 at this level, which is nothing to laugh at. It is a very fast movement, though nothing that a haste spell can't exactly help with. And with this, she does seem to be able to get around quite easily. We also pick up on Rage at this level, granting us the ability to be able to enter a rage for a number of rounds equal to 4 plus a Constitution modifier, plus 2 rounds for every level we possess beyond first. This is a very powerful ability and is the primary class feature of the entire build. For anybody who doesn't know about Barbarians, this is what you want to focus on a lot. While in a rage, we get access to a plus 4 morale bonus to our Strength and Constitution, along with a plus 2 morale bonus on all will saves. The downsides, we take a negative 2 penalty to our armor class, but also, we can't use any skill that would require concentration, we can't cast spells, so our skill list is kind of limited to Acrobatics, Fly, Intimidate, and Ride, with some of the exceptions. And as we level up, this feature does drastically improve, but we'll get to that a little later. Also at this level, we pick up on the feat Power Attack. It is a very potent feat, though we do have to keep in mind it doesn't introduce a penalty. By choosing to use Power Attack within your attack rolls, you take a total of a negative 1 penalty on all melee attack rolls to get a plus 2 bonus on all damage rolls. This bonus to damage increases by 50% if you're using a two-handed weapon, a one-handed weapon in 2 hands, or a primary natural attack that does 1 1/2 strength modifier. This is great. The bonus is also halved if you're using it in your offhand. So that is also a penalty to keep in mind. When your base attack bonus reaches 4, and every 4 thereafterwards, the penalty increases by 1, and the bonus to damage increases by 2. This does make us very powerful. But you use this feat before you make the attack roll, but it is actually very powerful, and will be able to circumvent some of the penalties later levels. At second level, we get a hold of Uncanny Dodge, our next ability. With you having a supernatural sense of danger, it enables you to be able to not be able to be caught flat-footed, nor lose your dexterity modifier to your AC if the attacker is invisible. You still lose this bonus though if you're immobilized or if the opponent is using the feint action against you. This is fairly useful, and it's the exact same ability what the rogue gets. Might be a little kind of copy and paste, something a little bit off-brand for what you might want, but it's cool. It really is, honestly, trust me, it's useful. We also get a hold of a very special class feature that we'll be getting multiple times as we level up, called Rage Power. Pick up on 1 Rage Power at each interval till we actually pick this. We'll get this, and in this time, we're picking up on our first Rage Power being Knockback. Once around, the Barbarian can make a bull rush attempt against 1 target in place of a melee attack. If successful, the target takes damage equal to the Barbarian's strength modifier and is moved back as normal. The Barbarian being able to do this is very useful, to be honest. As your bull rush, the higher your attack roll, not that roll, but your combat maneuver check for this is, the farther you can actually push them. It's useful because not only are you dealing damage, but you can also push them back. It's very helpful, so yeah, that's great. At third level, we get our next class feature called Trap Sense, the exact same ability as that of the Rogue. Trap Sense gives us a +1 bonus on all reflex saves to avoid traps, and a +1 dodge bonus to AC to be able to avoid being attacked by traps, since a lot of them can actually make attacks, to be honest. This does improve much higher as we level up. It starts off currently at level 3 at +1. We also pick up on the feat Weapon Focus Battle Axe. As it looks like she uses the battle axe because on many occasions she's seen as being able to use her axe in one-handed, though I do have to argue it is much closer to that of a great axe, personally. But we're going with what we get to see in the game. At 4th level, we get a hold of our next rage power, and it's called Intimidating Glare. Barbarian can make an Intimidate check against one adjacent foe as a move action. If you succeed on demoralizing them, the foe is shaken for 1d4 rounds, plus 1 round for every 5 points for which you exceed the DC. Now the DC can vary depending on your DM, but this does mean that she is extraordinarily terrifying with a Charisma of 14 to start off with. If you've been building this properly and putting in ranks all the way through this far, you at least have 4 ranks with class skills, so in doing so you're doing pretty good. You also get your first API bonus at this level. I was just put inside a Constitution, as you will need many more hit points to level up. At 5th level, we get a hold of Improved Uncanny Dodge. Effectively what this just does is we can no longer be caught flanked unless it is effectively a rogue of higher level or active barbarian level. It means we cannot be easily sneak attacked anymore, which is pretty good, to be honest. Sneak attack hurts way too much. We also pick up on the feat Intimidating Prowess. Now, it is a little bit of a feat to try to invest in because of it just being a simple skill feat. Sometimes they're kind of difficult to build. So this one, though, as a barbarian, is very useful. As a charisma modifier, which is 14, and for this entire point by system is phenomenal, we now get to apply our strength bonus to our intimidation checks. And if you remember, when raging, we also get strength bonuses. So not only currently is our strength a 16, when we rage, it goes up to 20, meaning we get a +5 additional bonus to our intimidation checks. This is very high, and is one of the reasons why barbarians are known to be a rage machine if you ultimately want to go down intimidating. There's also a bunch of other useful, different little tricks you can get higher, but we're not going to run this program exactly. At 6th level, we pick up on Trap Sense 2, giving us a +2 bonus on all things as mentioned prior to traps. We also get our next rage power, being Powerful Blow. Powerful Blow inside of Pathfinder 1E is actively a major staple for barbarians, as you hit hard and you hit even harder with this. As once per rage, you're able to make an attack roll against an enemy. When you choose to use this, you do an additional 1 point of damage plus 1 per 4 levels you possess just because you want to. Now, not once per day, once per rage. Many class features of barbarian state once per rage and not once per day. So, keep that in mind, and you can continue to use these very often. The downside is when you exit a raid, you just happen to become tired, fatigued. And if you're fatigued, you become exhausted, and you can't rage easily with that stuff going on, so just keep that in mind. At 7th level, we pick up on our damage reduction of 1 flash dash, which means we reduce all damage we take by 1 as long as the attack does not bypass the damage reduction of dash, which is almost non-existent. We also pick up on our next feat, being Signature Skill. Signature Skill, we choose one skill we have 5 ranks, and we get that as our signature skill, being able to use the Unchained skill bonuses. The bonuses increase as you level up, going all the way up to 20 ranks. Heal being the one we choose, thanks to Rousey being able to teach the ultimate heal ability to Susie. At 5 ranks, when you treat deadly wounds, the target recovers hit points and ability damage as if it rested a full day, which is phenomenal. At 10, when you treat deadly wounds, the recovered HP is as if you had rested a full day with long-term care. At 15, when treating deadly wounds, the creature recovers hit points and ability damage as if it had rested for 3 days. And at 20 ranks, when you treat deadly wounds, the target recovers hit points and ability damage as if it rested for 3 days with long-term care. This means we're able to heal a great deal without having much of an issue if we have the time for it. Because sadly, Ultimate Heal only does 1 hit point at a time. And that is not too good for Susie when Susie can have like to 191 hit points in the game. So we're not going to be too far off here from the build, but we will potentially see that again. Build entirely how many hit points we get. At 8th level, we get a hold of our next rage power called the Spire Totem Lesson. Now, there's rules for a bunch of different rage powers, and the totems and the blood rage powers have one thing in common. When you pick one of those types of powers, which are sectioned off in archives beneath this. When you choose one of those rage powers, you cannot go into any other type of that rage power. It is a totem rage power, so you can only choose one line of that. And here we're picking the Spire Totem, so we're picking up on Lesser Spire Totem and Greater Spire Totem. But at the moment, we are picking up on the Lesser Spire Totem. While raging, the Barbarian gains a +1 morale bonus on all attacks against any creature that has targeted one of her allies with an attack or harmful spell within the last round. With Susie being able to be a great tank, does come into a little bit of an issue because if you're better as a tank, you're going to eventually be ignored and you do a lot of damage. It's easy to subject to the spells. It's just great to have an ability to make it to where you're more of a nuisance just because they are ignoring you. You also pick up on our next API bonus, which we put into Constitution, making our Constitution in total an 18, giving us even more hit points. At this point, we've made it to where we have 4 additional hit points per character level. And with a D12 hit die, this is an unreal amount of hit points. At 9th level, our trap sense improves to +3. We also pick up on the feat Dazzling Display. Now you need weapon focus for this, which we chose being the Battle Axe, and it has to be a weapon you're proficient with that you've selected with weapon focus. While wielding a weapon in which you have weapon focus, you perform a brilliant show of powerful prowess as a forward action. Make an intimidation check against all foes within 30 feet. This is a lot. Our intimidating factor has just increased yet again. The fact that it keeps increasing is kind of hilarious. With a strength at this point, which while raging is actively non-magically, a 20 and a charisma of 14, we are able to rage so hard we make things kind of be themselves easily. And the entire eating somebody's face off is much more believable at this level than it has ever been. At 10th level, we get a hold of our damage reduction of 2 slash dash, meaning now we actively reduce all damage taken by 2. We also pick up on our next rage power called Terrifying Howl. As a standard action, when you are terrifying a creature, which is taking Intimidating Glare, rage power, which we picked up on a bit earlier, if you remember. As a standard action, when you're using this rage power, all shaken enemies within 30 feet of you must make a will save equal to DC of 10 plus half your barbarian level plus your strength modifier. So far, a lot of things are coming back to strength modifier. It is becoming a big problem for anybody who's having to face this build for fear factor. On a failed save, they instead just become panicked for 1d4 plus 1 round. They become panicked now. Once the enemy has made a save against this rage power, it is immune to it for 24 hours, but that's not a problem anymore. Not only from Intimidating Glare, anybody we intimidate while raging are shaken, we can make the shaken factor improve to panic, and we can intimidate everybody within 30 feet. That is a lot of anger within a small package, because she's not an adult yet, so yeah. At 11th level, we get a hold of another phenomenal ability, Greater Rage. Our rage improves to Greater Rage as we now get a +6 bonus to our Strength and Constitution while raging, and a +3 bonus to our Will Save while raging. This makes our Strength a total of a 22 and our Constitution of a 24 while raging. This is a lot. A lot of hit points and a lot of damage, and our Intimidating is just increased yet again. We also pick up on the feat Cleave, which requires strength 13, power attack, and a base attack bonus of 1. We get it a little bit later than what really probably should be on the build, but it comes down to thematic and it follows what Susie does. As a standard action, you can make a single attack at your full base attack bonus against a foe within reach. If you hit, you deal damage normally and can make an additional attack using your full base attack bonus against the adjacent foe within range. You can only make one additional attack per round with this, mind you, and you do take a -2 to your AC. Oh darn, at this point. Your AC is not going to be the best in the world, and hit points is where you at it. You have a Constitution 24. That is at least a +7 per level while raging. +7 hit points per level while raging. We're on 11th level. You can do the math in your own. It's a lot of hit points. At 12th level, our trap sense improves to +4. We get a hold of another rage power, unrestrained rage. While raging, you're just immune to all paralysis. You're just immune to paralysis. Nothing can paralyze you now, which is pretty cool. If you were already paralyzed when you enter the rage, you can enter it as immediate action, and you're no longer paralyzed anymore. That's it. It's done. It's gone. While you're in the rage, it's gone. Done. We also pick up on our next API bonus, which we're going to put into strength now, making our strength a total of a 23. At 13th level, we just so happen to pick up on nothing but survivability abilities here, as we're picking up on our damage reduction, improving to 3/dash and toughness. Toughness gives us 3 hit points to start off with, and for every level we possess beyond 3, we get 1 additional hit point. So effectively, it just gives us a level in total of hit points. So you're going to be having so many hit points, so survivability has improved once again. It just jumped. At 14th level, we get a hold of our next ability called Indomitable Will. While raging, we get a +4 bonus to all saving throws, all will saves against enchantments. This is pretty good, especially since it stacks with everything else we have. Rage, it doesn't say it doesn't stack with anything. It's pretty good. We also pick up on our next rage power called the Spire Totem. As I stated, we would pick it up. So, here it is. While raging, a barbarian takes no penalty for using a weapon to deal non-lethal damage. At most of the way through chapters 1 and then going to chapter 2, Susie kind of did get on the bandwagon of peaceful interactions. Rousey kind of affected her with that. When dealing non-lethal damage, the barbarian adds a bonus equal to half her barbarian level on her damage roll. You must have the Lesser Spirit Totem and Beast level for this, but it's pretty good since the entire passive nature of this point has kind of grown a little. At 15th level, our trap sense improves to +5, and we get a hold of our next feat being a Furious Focus. When you are wielding a two-handed weapon or one-handed weapon with 2 hands and using power attack, you do not suffer the power attack penalty on your first attack roll each time. You still suffer it on all of the attacks, including attack opportunities. This just makes for attacks hit more often. Stupid not to take this, in my opinion, for this build. So here we are. At 16th level, our damage reduction improves to 4/dash, meaning we reduce all damage by 4. We also get our next rage power, being Fueled by Vengeance. Fueled by Vengeance is a very handy rage power. Whenever you deal damage to a creature that dealt you damage since the end of your last turn, you regain 1 round of rage. These rounds cannot exceed your maximum amount of rage rounds per day. That means when you hit somebody, let's say you have 20 rounds, you spend 1 and you get hit and you hit the enemy back, like it states. That means you regain to 20, and if you enter rage there, you're still at 20. Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. And it's a very suggested thing to actually take because of near infinite rage rounds is always handy. We also pick up on our next API bonus, which will once again put into strength, which now makes our strength in total a 24. 24 while raging is pretty good. 17th level, we'll pick up on our next ability, Tireless Rage. At 17th, a barbarian no longer becomes fatigued while raging. Pretty cool, pretty great. We also pick up on our next feat, being Great Cleave. Now, Great Cleave is kind of another one of those standard feats we'll pick up on, just like Cleave Power Attack. As a standard action, you're able to make a single attack roll against a foe within reach at your full base attack bonus. And in doing so, when you hit, you deal damage and you are able to attack another creature within reach at your using your full attack bonus for your attack roll. And you keep doing this until you run out of foes that you can effectively hit within reach, or you practically miss. It's pretty much what it is. You miss a lot, you lose any more benefits. So yeah, you continue making attack until then. Mind you, the penalty still applied. You still take a -2 to your AC whenever you're actively using these feats. It's like the prior one, but everybody gets a hit. At 18th level, we get a hold of Trap Sense +6. And we get a hold of our next rage power, being the Spirit Totem Greater. Now, it's a little bit late for us to pick this up at, to be completely honest, since especially as it requires you being 10th level. While raging, all allies within 30 feet get a +2 morale bonus on will saves. When attempting will saves against fear effects, all allies within the area can roll twice and take better results as well, which is a phenomenal thing, since the fact is now it is less the fact that your enemy is terrified, it's more the fact that you know you have a more terrifying rage machine right in front of you that could eat you any moment. So you're not going to be afraid of the enemy, you're going to be afraid of the one that's chopping people's heads off. We also, at our next level, 19, we pick up on the damage reduction of 5 slash dash, or last improvement to your damage reduction. Now there was a rage power, improved damage reduction takes a couple times, be able to improve it if we wanted to, but it really wasn't exactly on build because of space. If your DM ever was generous and gave you access to a free feat, I highly suggest picking up extra rage power to get your damage reduction to go up to 6. We also pick up on our next feat, our final feat for the entire build, Cleaving Finish. Cleaving Finish is a very powerful feat for us to have to be upgraded. If you make a melee attack and your target drops to 0 hit points as a result of an attack, you can make another melee attack using your highest base attack once against another opponent within range. You can make only 1 extra attack per round with this feat. Effectively, this means as long as you drop the opponent to 0 hit points when using Cleave of any kind, you just keep hitting. Even Great Cleave. You do so. Your last enemy within range. Yeah, you just boom, 1 fire. That doesn't say you can't be the same one. 2 enemies. Cleave. Chop 1. Cleave makes you chop the other one. This lets you chop the other one back. The first one's probably going to be fully dead after this. So, yeah, it's pretty good. At 20th level, we get a hold of the last set of abilities. We get a hold of Mighty Rage. Now, with this little ability here, our Strength and Constitution, of which were a 24, now has improved to 26. As it grants us a +8 bonus to Strength and Constitution while raging, and a +4 on will saves while raging. We also pick up on our last rage power for the entire build. While raging with this rage power, since we picked up Reckless Abandon, while raging, you take an -1 penalty on all attack AC to be able to get a +1 bonus on all attack rolls. That's pretty sweet. The penalty to AC increases by 1, and the bonus increases by 1 to all attack rolls at 4th and every 4 levels of afterwards. We also pick up on our last API bonus here, which we're putting into strength. So now while raging, our strength is 27 before any magical bonuses, and knowing standard campaign, you are going to have at least a +4 enhancement bonus to your strength score here, so you get to 30. You'll get to 30 usually. It's stupid not to. If you can do so, do it. Now that this entire build has been complete, let's take a look at it and analyze it real quick. Here's the pros to this entire build. We are extremely unnecessarily durable. As all barbarians tend to be, we are unnecessarily durable or tanky beyond belief. Without raging alone, we have actually 235 hit points on average, using the average roll. While raging, we get an additional 80 hit points because of our +8 morale bonus to Constitution, making it to where we have a total of 315. This is a horrifying amount of health for a character to have, to be completely honest. And if we would have just invested everything into Constitution, and more likely with somebody playing this build would have enhancement bonuses to their Constitution, your party's built right, a wizard could actually have, well, bears and villains on you constantly. So we're talking about, this is a terrifying amount of hit points. We also, since our strength active rating is 27, we are talking about are so hard at hitting, it is scary. We are able to hit so unnecessarily often, especially with the fact that we have Reckless Abandon being able to give us bonuses to our attack rolls for penalties to our AC, which by the bonuses and negatives we take thanks to power attack, we were able to counteract most, if not all, of our penalties within a round of attacks, especially with us having Furious Focus being able to take out the penalties for the first attack. For Cleave Online, we're able to dish out a large amount of damage to many creatures within our reach. Especially with Greater Cleave, letting us be able to make a near infinite amount, and then Cleaving Finish, making it so we can start backtracking a little so we make sure they die anyways. With all of this taken into consideration, we have access to knockback, being able to push creatures back by sacrificing attack rolls, so we can make sure our party is fairly defended if required. With the sheer amount of intimidating options we have, we make it to where creatures panic, and we can intimidate everything within 30 feet is unnecessary. It is so unnecessary that it's hilarious, especially with having intimidating prowess. That immense amount of strength that you're using to hit things, you're able to apply as well as your charisma modifier to your intimidation check. Being able to get rolls upwards to 40, potentially 50, depending on your campaign, is not hard. It's actually hard to actually get a roll really low at this point. It doesn't matter what you roll, things are going to be terrified of you. You also are so intimidating and rage so hard that not only can you do non-lethal damage, you can actively do it so well you get bonuses to it. You rage so hard, you can protect your allies as well, getting bonuses to attack rolls against allies that's been hit within your reach, and applying the fact that you can now make it to where they are not afraid of much of anything. With all this in mind, you are a terrifying beast to face. Now let's look at the downsides though. You're kind of one note. You're not exactly able to work out too well inside of a ranged battle. You aren't exactly invested in being able to knock hit your party, and especially with this being Susie here, Chris is going to be up in front, and with his build, as you see in the last episode, he is able to start using a lot of his ability at a range at much later levels, especially with Bodyguard, which is so handy. The downside with this comes into play that range is not so much of an option. You have options for ranged feats, but you haven't really invested in them. You've chosen to really go into nothing but intimidating and hitting harder. Now, it is commonly known that if the enemy stops moving, they're no longer a problem, but you have to be able to hit them. So I highly would suggest swapping out some feats to be able to pick up on precise shots, at least. Otherwise, you have a low will save, low reflex save. Though we do circumvent this a little bit thanks to our rage. Enchantments are not much of a problem at much later level. Reflex saves are going to be a problem for us. Inevitably, even with Darkest Before Dawn, for a bunch of saving throw bonuses, it's a problem when we're talking about a lot of the later level creatures having a lot of reflex saves, such as Fireball, Lightning Bolts, just to name a few. And if your DM's making you face dragons, it's going to be so difficult because that breath weapon is so high. You have a high constitution, so do they, and that's what they use for their DCs. Inevitably, you hit hard, but you're not so good at taking hits either, though. With abilities at much later level to be able to reduce your AC further than what its measly AC will be, you actively take a lot of damage, and because you have a high constitution score, it's easy for you to get wrapped up in the fact you're going to live so long that your AC's not good. With power attack being a good thing, giving you additional attack buffs, your attack hitting is quite frequent with your build, but sadly at later levels with Cleave, it does sacrifice your AC a lot, and with Reckless Abandon, it's in the name. You actively abandon all defenses against yourself just so you can hit better. You hit better, but the problem is you don't have the AC to be able to back this up. At highest, you're going to have on estimate being a non-magical AC of roughly maybe in the 20s if you're lucky. Magically, you may be able to go upwards to somewhere close to 30, which, to be completely honest, is pretty high, especially when we're talking about, let's say, Baylor, for an example, have an AC of 36. But even then, we're talking about at the point your touch AC is going to be so gone. And even though most characters don't have a high touch AC unless you're investing things like braces of armor, it's not going to be great for you. You're going to be taking a lot of hits, and spells are going to affect you quite frequently. So that is the class analysis here, as I have built Susie. Thank you all for watching this episode. Go down in the description if you want to see the build for yourself, want to use it inside of a campaign your own. It's all down there, you can access to it easily, and you can find all the other characters, which is just currently Chris, that I've actively built. So, go down there, take the build for yourself, have fun smashing people's heads in, cutting them off as well if you need to, and terrifying the enemy and your party into doing things your way if you need to. So thank you for watching this episode. Like, comment, subscribe if you wish to, and I hope to see you in another video.